You can delete a post, but you can't delete the people who saw it. This is LurmoStories, and tonight's stories survived through screenshots and memory alone. Stay until the end. You'll see why that matters. In February 2018, I lived alone on East Madero Avenue in Mesa, Arizona, 8 minutes from the US 60 and Superstition Springs Mall. Quiet block, beige yards, garage doors shut by 9. I was 34, divorced, and doing remote support near Chandler Airport. My life was boring enough that small things stood out. The man across from me was Victor Hale. His name was on the mailbox. He lived in a green-trim stucco house, maybe 28 yards from my front door. I had spoken to him once at the community mailboxes. He was around 60, tall, with flat white hair and long sleeves buttoned at the wrists. The digging started Monday, February 5th. I had bought a used PlayStation 4 off Facebook Marketplace and was fighting with a Walmart HDMI cable. At exactly 9 p.m., I heard metal hit dirt. Chink, scrape, chink. I looked through the blinds. Victor stood on his front lawn with a shovel. The lawn was a rectangle, about 12 by 16 feet, boxed in by gravel. He was digging right in the center. A yellow work light sat on his porch. He wore khakis and a white button-down tucked in neat. I watched for 2 minutes. Then I told myself he was fixing a sprinkler line. Arizona yards are always breaking. It was a good explanation, so I closed the blinds. At 3 a.m., I was still awake. The house was quiet enough to hear the fridge click, the ceiling fan wobble, the dry scrape of mesquite branches against the block wall. Then I heard the shovel again. Victor was filling the hole. He moved dirt from a blue tarp back into the ground and pressed it flat. Then he rolled the tarp and went inside. The next night, he did it again. At 9 p.m., he dug the hole. At 3 a.m., he buried it. It was maybe 3 feet across and 2 feet deep. Big enough to trip into, not big enough for any normal project. He never checked his phone. He never looked around. By Thursday, I was timing him on my Samsung Galaxy S7. I know how that sounds. Sometimes the shovel hit a buried rock and made a little ping I could hear from my couch. One night, it rained for 10 minutes, and the block smelled like wet creosote and warm dust. I told my brother Nate over Xbox chat while we played Rocket League. He said maybe Victor was burying dog crap. I asked why he dug it back up at 3. Nate went quiet, then said, "Get a Ring camera." I didn't. I recorded him through the blinds instead. The clips looked like nothing, a white-haired man in grainy darkness. Yard work. On Sunday, February 11th, Victor noticed me. I was taking the trash bin to the curb around 8:45 p.m. The air smelled like dryer sheets and somebody's fire pit. Victor stood in his open garage with the folded blue tarp over one arm. Behind him, I saw no car, just black space. He lifted a hand. "Evening, Mark." I had never told him my name. "Evening," I said. "Trash day tomorrow. Don't forget both bins. They skipped you last week." They had. Nobody had been outside when it happened. "Thanks," I said, and went in. At 9, he started digging. After that, I noticed more. His blinds had cardboard behind them, cut to fit. His porch had no chairs, no Amazon boxes, no mat. The center of his lawn turned gray and thin. 2 nights later, I did something stupid. I waited until 3:40 a.m., after he had filled the hole and gone inside. Then I crossed the street with my phone flashlight pointed down. A dog barked near East Navarro Avenue. Victor's grass was damp under my shoes. Loose dirt, broken grass laid over it. I crouched and touched the soil. It was soft, warm, or warmer than it should have been. It smelled like dust and rusted metal. There were shovel marks in a clean ring, and one long, narrow shoe print facing my house. My hands still smelled like that dirt after I washed them with Dawn. The next morning, there was a small pile of soil on my front doormat, maybe 2 handfuls, neat, right where my foot would land. Mixed into it were teeth. At first, I thought they were white gravel chips. Then I saw the curve of a molar. Another had a little root attached. I counted 6 before I stopped. Adult teeth, I think. Dry, yellowish, dirt packed into the grooves. I stood there in my socks, I took photos, and called Mesa PD. 2 officers came. Nunez, young, mirrored sunglasses. Briggs, older, bored voice. They asked about dogs, coyotes, Halloween props. I told them about the digging and showed my clips. Briggs watched 6 seconds.
Looks like yard work. At 3 in the morning? People are odd. Nunez bagged the teeth in dirt. They knocked across the street. Victor opened after almost a minute. He smiled and made a sprinkler motion. Briggs came back and said Victor was replacing irrigation tubing at night because he had a skin condition. The teeth might be animal teeth, dragged around by a coyote. On my doormat, I asked? We'll file it, Briggs said. Nunez gave me his card. Call if he comes onto your property again. That word, again, stayed with me. At 9 p.m., Victor came out and dug. This time he wore gloves. I sat on the floor behind my couch with the lights off, an old Easton bat beside me. At 3, he filled the hole. At 3:26, he stopped. For the first time, he looked directly at my house. Then my phone lit up. A Facebook message request. Blank profile, no picture, name VH. The message said, "You stepped on it wrong." I stayed still. Across the street, Victor kept looking at my window. After a minute, he picked something tiny from the grass, held it toward my house between 2 fingers, then put it in his shirt pocket. The next afternoon, I worked from the warehouse because I didn't want to be home. I ate a Burger King chicken sandwich in my truck with the doors locked. When I came back at 6:30, a white envelope was taped to my garage. No stamp, no address, just Mark in blue pen. Inside was a photo of me taking my trash bin out. It had a Walgreens code on the back.
Behind me, in my own front window, the blinds were parted. On the white border, someone had written, 6 steps. I counted without meaning to. From my front door to the driveway was 6 steps. From my couch to the hallway was 6. From my bed to the bedroom door was 6. I called Nunez. At 8:58, my phone alarm buzzed. "That's him," I said. We stood in my dark living room. At 9, Victor's porch light came on. He walked out with the shovel and tarp. Nunez watched until 9:17. Then he said, "Stay inside." He crossed the street. Victor kept digging until Nunez was about 10 feet away. I heard Nunez through the glass. "Sir, put the shovel down." Victor laid it on the tarp, slow and careful. Then he looked over Nunez's shoulder, right at my house, and said loud enough for me to hear, "He keeps ruining the depth." Nunez asked what he meant. Victor smiled and said something quieter. Nunez put a hand on his radio. Victor stepped back and pointed into the hole. Nunez looked down. He looked for too long. Then he told Victor to sit on the curb. Victor sat calmly, knees together, hands folded, like he was waiting outside a dentist's office. 2 patrol cars came. Nobody came to my door for almost 20 minutes. When Briggs finally did, he looked different. "Mr. Dempsey, remain inside for now." "What was in the hole?" He didn't answer. "Do you have somewhere else you can stay tonight?" That question was enough. At 10:36 p.m., they put Victor in the back of a patrol car. He was not fighting. I stood in my driveway beside Nunez. Victor bent to get in, paused, and turned toward me. He said, "Tell him not to sleep under it." Nunez shut the door. I drove to Tucson and stayed with Nate. The next morning, Nunez called. I asked what they found. "The house is empty," he said. "Empty like abandoned? No furniture, no bed, no couch, no table, no TV?" I waited. There's soil in every room, piled wall to wall, bags in the hallway, buckets in the bathrooms. The bedrooms are filled almost to the light switches. He said they also found tarps, shovels, work lights, and printed photographs. My front door, my bedroom window, my truck, me sitting at my kitchen table, taken through the side window where the oleander had a gap. The photos were not in a drawer. They were glued to the ceiling, in every room, hundreds of them facing down, above the dirt, above the empty rooms, above the narrow paths Victor had left through his own house. Nunez said Victor was in custody and I was safe to return when I felt ready. I moved out before the end of the month. I took a second-floor place in Gilbert. I bought 2 Ring cameras, a door brace, and more window locks than I needed. For months, my eyes opened at 2:58 a.m. without an alarm. The last thing happened in August 2018. After a dentist appointment near Superstition Springs, I took Madero Avenue, which was a mistake. Victor's house was for sale. A realtor sign said Linda Parks, Home Smart. On the curb, right where Victor had sat with his hands folded, there was a small mound of dirt. Probably from the sod. That was the reasonable explanation. Then I saw something pale in the mound. Small, curved, too white for gravel. I kept driving. At the light near Power Road, my phone buzzed once in the cup holder. A Facebook message request from a blank profile. The name was Open House. The message said, 9 is for starting, 3 is for fixing. I worked Forest Service in Arkansas in April 2015, out of the station near Mountain View. My area was west of Sylamore Creek, where gravel roads have numbers instead of names. I drove a dented green Ford F-150 and carried a Motorola handheld, bear spray, a Garmin, and a folding saw. My radio partner was Cody Walsh, up in the East Fork Lookout Tower, about 3 miles from my route. Cody was 34, from Conway, skinny, glasses, always chewing sunflower seeds. On April 17th, Bill sent me down a closed path off Forest Road 1102 toward Rattlesnake Hollow. 2 Memphis hikers reported a loose footbridge, and one wrote that the trail went quiet. I laughed at that over a Burger King biscuit. Woods get quiet. Hawks, weather, bobcats. You learn not to turn every silence into a story. I parked at 8:12 a.m. The air smelled like wet pine needles, red clay, and cold ash. Water ticked off oak leaves. A squirrel barked once on the ridge. That was the last animal I heard for a while. I called Cody. East Fork, Unit 3, starting Rattlesnake Hollow, bent sycamore on 1102. Time is 8:16. He came back through static. Copy. Don't pet the snakes, boss. I said, never do twice. He laughed. At 8:41, I found a pine down across the track, about 14 inches thick, snapped fresh and pale inside. Cody copied it and said he was eating gas station jerky in the fog. That was when I noticed the quiet. No crows, no warblers. I could hear my jacket rub my vest and the click of my pen cap. I told myself the storm had pushed the birds low. It was a decent explanation. At 9:03, I reached a limestone shelf where the ground fell into a ravine, maybe 30 feet deep. Gray rock, wet leaves, brown puddles at the bottom. Cedar packed the far side. Nobody would climb down there unless he had to. That was where I heard the whistle. 3 notes. Low, high, low. Not loud. I looked down and saw leaves, rock, a branch shaped like an arm. No orange vest. No movement. Forest Service, I called. Anybody down there? Nothing. The whistle came again, same spacing. I keyed the radio. East Fork, possible hunter or hiker in the hollow. Cody asked if I wanted county. I said no. Log 906. Cody said, logged. I took 2 steps along the rim. Then Cody's voice said, logged, from the bottom of the ravine. It was not an echo. It was Cody's voice at radio speaker volume, down among the leaves. Same nasal edge, same clipped static. My Motorola showed no receive light. I asked if another unit was on channel. Cody said, negative, it's just you and me this morning. The ravine said, in Cody's voice, it's just you and me this morning. Then came static. Not from my radio, from below. A dry electrical hiss from mud, leaves, and no outlet. I backed up until my shoulder touched a pine. I still tried to make it normal. Crosstalk. Echo. A hunter with a scanner. Some kid with a prank app on an iPhone 5. But that did not explain the timing, or how anyone had gotten into that ravine without making a sound. Cody came back. Unit 3, you good? Before I could answer, the ravine answered for me, with the little key-up thump. Unit 3, you good? Then it repeated, what's going on? In Cody's voice. Between 2 cedars below me, something pale moved behind a rock. It was the height of a crouched man, but too narrow. I unhooked the bear spray and told whoever was down there to come up. Nothing. Then the whistle came from my right. Same notes. It had moved maybe 40 feet without one footstep. Cody said he saw a white flash on the lower spur road. I looked left. Empty gray mud, ferns, 1 tire track full of rainwater. Describe movement, I said. The ravine repeated, in my voice, describe movement. I told Cody, do not leave the tower. The ravine repeated that too. It was not just copying, it was collecting us. I climbed over the blowdown at 9:17. My palms stuck to fresh sap, sharp and clean like pine sol. Behind me, my own radio voice said, never do twice. Then Cody's laugh came out of the ravine, the exact laugh from 8:16, clipped, static and all. I ran the last 50 yards to the truck. The cab smelled like damp cloth, old coffee, and peppermint gum. I called Cody. No answer. I drove too fast on 1102, pines scraping the passenger mirror. Half a mile from the main road, the radio came alive. It sounded like Cody. You need to come up here, he said. I can hear you under the tower. The East Fork Tower was about 70 feet tall, a square wooden cab on metal legs. Under it were gravel, weeds, a storage box, and a broken plastic chair. Cody had a base radio, binoculars, a thermos, a logbook, and a landline that worked when it felt like it. I told him to lock the trapdoor. Locked. Use the landline. Dead. Then, under his transmission, I heard my own voice say, Cody, open it. Cody whispered, "It's at the bottom of the stairs." For a few seconds, all I heard was his breathing and the slow metal creak of the tower cab. Then the whistle came through his mic. Low, high, low. Under his tower, 3 miles east, I turned toward East Fork instead of the station. At 9:29, Cody said, "Now it's climbing, 1 step every few seconds. It's using your boots. I can hear you on the stairs, but I can see through the floor grate. There's nothing on the lower flight." I asked for the number on his logbook, top right, first page. Paper rustled. 17. Good. Real Cody. Then, underneath him, my voice said, "Top right corner, first page." A bang came over the radio. Cody said it hit the trap door. Then Cody's voice came through, close and calm. "False alarm. I'm all good." Wrong. I asked for the second page, bottom left. Silence. Then, faint, behind the fake Cody, the real one said, "Don't come up." I reached the tower road at 9:34. The tower appeared above the trees, gray against low clouds. Ordinary. The woods around it were silent. No birds, no insects, no wind in the leaves, though the tower cab creaked. I parked 30 yards from the base and left the engine running. Bear spray in one hand, radio in the other. I shouted Cody's name. My radio answered in my own voice. From under the tower came the whistle. Low, high, low. Cody's face appeared in the cab window for 1 second. Pale, glasses crooked. He raised one hand. "Stay back." The radio spoke with his voice. "Come up slow." His mouth had not moved. I backed toward the truck. The whistle came again, behind me, near the road. About 6 steps away. I turned. In the cedar thicket stood a pale shape. I saw it in pieces. A narrow oval where a face should be, with shallow dents and a long vertical slit. A body too thin and too tall, folded sideways behind branches. Maybe 7 feet. The slit puckered. My radio made the key up thump. In Cody's voice, from the thicket, it said, "Thanks, sweetheart." 2 days earlier, Cody had said that to the cashier at the Mountain View gas station. It had been listening for days. I sprayed the bear spray into the cedar. Orange mist blew right back at me. My eyes burned. My nose filled with pepper and dirt. Through the blur, I saw the pale thing lean away. Not run, just lean like a man avoiding cigarette smoke. Then the tower crashed above me. The trapdoor was open. Cody was gone from the window. The radio on the ground crackled. My voice said, "I sprayed it." Then Cody's voice, very close, said, "I'm sorry, boss." The line went dead. I climbed. I do not remember choosing to. Pepper made every breath taste like hot pennies. Halfway up, something below copied my footsteps 1 flight lower. Clang when I clanged, stop when I stopped. I looked through the mesh and saw empty stairs. At the top, I shoved the trapdoor open and rolled into the cab. It smelled like dust, old coffee, and hot electronics. Cody's thermos lay on its side. Sunflower seeds were spilled over the map. Cody was on the floor by the far wall. I will not describe much. He was still in his Forest Service jacket. His glasses were under the desk. The radio cord was around his neck and looped once around the wall hook. The handset lay beside him. From the speaker came my voice, Cody's voice, and the whistle. The stairs below made one metal clang, then another, slow. I grabbed the flare pistol from the wall box. 1 red shell inside, expired by 2 years. A pale hand came up onto the edge. 4 long fingers, no nails. Skin like wet bark peeled clean. My own voice came from below the floor, not the speaker. "Never do twice." I fired. The flare hit the frame and bounced down. Red light filled the stairs. Something below made a bent whistle. I climbed out the window onto the maintenance rail, then down the service ladder. When I hit the ground, the air smelled like smoke, pepper, and wet cedar. I backed the truck down the road and did not stop. At 10:02, I got Bill on the repeater. I told him Cody was down at the tower and we needed county and medical. They found Cody exactly where I had left him. Deputy Harold Pike asked 3 times if Cody had seemed upset. I said no. He asked about the cord. I said it was the radio cord. The report said no sign of another person, no clear prints, trapdoor latch broken, wall hook damaged. They never wrote down the voices. Bill heard some though. Cody's base radio was still playing pieces. My voice, Cody's voice, static, whistle. Bill unplugged it and it kept going 5 or 6 seconds with the cord out. Then it stopped. I quit before summer. I moved to Fayetteville, sold the Ford, and worked hotel maintenance. I still leave the room when walkie-talkies chirp too close. I went back once in 2019 because I thought daylight would make it smaller. The tower was chained off. Someone had dumped a Walmart mattress near the bend. Birds were loud in the trees. Then they stopped, all at once. From the cedar thicket, Cody's gas station voice said, "Thanks, sweetheart." Halfway to Mountain View, my phone showed one new voice memo. The file was named 0816. It was 11 seconds long. I deleted it.
In January 2021, I drove west from Austin because I had nowhere quiet to be. 2 days earlier, I had broken up with Cody, my boyfriend of 4 years. He kept the apartment on South Lamar. I took my Corolla, 2 laundry baskets, my work laptop, and a Walmart fleece blanket. My sister Megan in Phoenix said I could stay for a week. Leaving after work was stupid. By Fredericksburg, it was dark. Near Junction, my check engine light came on. Yellow, steady, not blinking. I Googled it at a Love's and decided steady meant I could deal with it tomorrow. The Red Mesa Inn sat off I-10, 4 miles west of Junction, by a closed Dairy Queen sign. The office smelled like bleach, smoke, and old coffee. Lorna at the desk had gray-yellow hair and a cowboy sweatshirt. "Whatever's quiet," I said. She looked over her glasses. "Honey, it's off I-10. She gave me room 12, ground floor, second door from the end. My car was 6 steps from the door. A white Ford F-150 sat in front of room 13, the room sharing my right wall. New Mexico plates, black toolbox in the bed. A man stood by it. Red hoodie, canvas jacket, blue mask under his chin, around 6 feet. He watched me lift a laundry basket, then looked away. He said, "Evening." I said, "Hi," and went in. Room 12 smelled like lemon cleaner over wet carpet. The heater rattled every time it started. There was a framed cactus over the bed and a Bible in the nightstand. I put the deadbolt on, hooked the chain, and pushed the chair under the handle. I was alone in a cheap motel off I-10. I had nothing to prove. I ate peanut butter crackers from Buc-ee's and watched Forensic Files. Cody texted at 10:14 about his charger, and I blocked him. Around 10:40, I heard the first noise through the wall. It was soft and dry, like a metal coat hanger dragged across wood. Scritch, scritch, scritch. Pause. Scritch, scritch. The shared wall was on the right side of the bed. My pillow was maybe 14 inches from it. I figured the guy next door was moving a suitcase or doing some trucker thing with tools. Motel walls are thin. That was my first rational explanation. Thin walls, old building, tired brain. At 11:03, it came again, slower. I muted the TV. The heater clicked off. The room went quiet except for highway hiss and the broken ice machine banging in the wind. Then a man coughed on the other side of the wall, close to the wall. I said, "Jesus, thin walls," because saying it made it ordinary. I brushed my teeth with bottled water because the tap smelled like pennies. I slept in leggings and an old UT Austin sweatshirt, keys under my pillow, pepper spray on the nightstand. At 12:18, the scraping woke me up. My phone lit the room blue. The sound was right behind my head, not in the room, behind the wall. It wasn't like a hanger anymore. It was sharper, controlled. A tiny grinding sound, like someone turning a screw by hand. I moved. It stopped. That changed it. I waited. Maybe 20 seconds. Then it started again. Lower, near the mattress. I sat up. It stopped. I said, loud enough for room 13, "Can you stop doing that?" Nothing. No TV, no footsteps, no toilet. Just the heater starting again with a dusty, burnt smell. I called the front desk at 12:44. It rang 8 times and went to a full voicemail box. I tried again. Same thing. The wall stayed silent. I looked through the peephole. The orange lot was empty looking. The F-150 was still there. My Corolla was still there. I wedged one laundry basket between the chair and the bed, then lay on the far edge of the mattress, away from the shared wall. At 1:27, I heard him speak. Not to me, more like to himself. A low murmur through the wall, then a short laugh. Huh. Then came 3 taps. Tap, tap, tap. Evenly spaced, right where my head had been before I moved. I didn't answer. Another tap came lower, then a little scrape. I pictured the man in the red hoodie kneeling on the carpet, face close to the beige paint, listening for bed springs. I almost left then. My shoes were next to the bed. My keys were under the pillow. My car was 6 steps away. But I thought about the check engine light, the empty frontage road, and his truck outside. I did not want to open my door in front of him. So I sat on the floor between the bed and the window. The carpet felt damp through my socks. My phone was at 38%. My mouth tasted like old coffee. I held the pepper spray and watched the line under the door. At 2:05, the scraping started again. Faster this time, a little buzzing grind. Then it stopped. I heard a click, like metal on a nightstand. I called 911 at 2:07. The dispatcher asked where I was.
I said, Red Mesa Inn, I-10 Frontage Road, west of Junction, room 12. She asked what the emergency was. The man in the room next to me is scraping or drilling into the wall by my bed. She told me to stay inside with the door locked. During the call, room 13 was completely silent. That made it worse. It meant he could hear me. At 2:19, someone knocked on my door. 2 soft knocks. A man outside said, "Ma'am?" I did not answer. He said, "Your dome light's on in your car." His voice was helpful, normal, a little flat through the door. My dome light was not on. I could see my Corolla through the 1-inch gap in the curtain. The inside was dark. The man knocked once more. "Ma'am, you hear me?" I said, louder than I felt, "Police are coming." Silence. Then slow footsteps on gravel. Through the curtain gap, I saw the man in the red hoodie cross in front of my car, open room 13 with a keycard, and slip inside. Deputy Harris arrived at 2:34. Big man, gray mustache, black mask. He knocked on room 13. No answer. He checked my wall with a flashlight. Nothing obvious. The wallpaper and headboard hid most of it. "Do you want to move rooms?" he asked. "Yes," I said. Lorna came from the back room, barefoot in Crocs. Harris asked who was in room 13. She clicked on a Dell keyboard. "Evan Pruitt, paid cash, 1 night, no vehicle listed." He got a key and opened room 13. He went in with his flashlight. He came out less than a minute later. "Room's empty," he said. Lorna blinked. "Well, his truck's there." The truck was not there. I looked through the office glass at the empty spot in front of room 13. I don't know how he moved it without me hearing. Wind and highway noise covered a lot. Lorna put me in room 4. Harris waited while I moved my purse, laptop bag, duffel, and the laundry basket from room 12. I did not check the back seat. I wish I had. I slept maybe 2 hours with the lights on. At 7:12 a.m., Megan texted, "You make it to Fort Stockton?" I called her and cried only after she said my name. Before leaving, I went back to room 12 for my charger. Lorna came with me. Daylight made the room look smaller. I got the charger, then looked at the wall. There was a tiny gray mark beside the headboard. Not big, smaller than a pencil eraser. If the room had been dim, I would have missed it. It was exactly where my right eye had been when I lay facing the wall. I asked Lorna to help me move the mattress. The headboard was screwed to the wall, but the mattress slid enough for us to see behind it. There was a fresh little hole started in the drywall. Not through. Pale dust sat on the top seam of the headboard. Lorna said, "Oh my God," very softly. That was when I stopped feeling silly. Harris came back. He measured the mark, 41 inches from the floor. 7 inches from the edge of the headboard. He had me lie down. My eye lined up almost perfectly. Then he went next door again. Room 13 looked empty in the morning sun. No suitcase, no toothbrush, no trash except a folded Taco Bell bag. On the nightstand was a cheap hand drill with a narrow bit. Near the shared wall was drywall dust. I thought that was the end of it. Then I opened my Corolla and saw the back passenger door was not shut all the way. The seatbelt had caught in it, leaving a 1/2-inch gap. No broken glass. My second laundry basket was gone. It had old clothes in it, a denim jacket, 2 t-shirts, socks, a gray beanie, and a blue Target dress Cody liked. Nothing worth taking. While Harris wrote that down, Lorna came out of room 13 fast, one hand over her mouth. "You need to see this," she said. I didn't want to. I still went. On the bed in room 13, sitting upright against the wall, was a doll. Not a store doll, something made. A motel pillow wrapped with towels and duct tape under the blanket. The pillow was the head. My gray beanie was pulled over it. My denim jacket was buttoned around the towel body. My blue dress was laid over the lower half. The face had no eyes, no mouth, nothing drawn. Only one small dark hole poked through the pillowcase, exactly where the right eye would be. No note, no writing on the mirror, no explanation. Just my clothes shaped into a person in his bed, facing the wall between our rooms. I stood in the parking lot with cold sun on my face. Cars kept passing on I-10 like nothing had happened. I did not drive to Phoenix that day. A mechanic in Junction said the check engine light was an oxygen sensor. I got a Hampton Inn room in Kerrville. The sheriff's office called twice. Evan Pruitt led nowhere useful. Cash, no copied ID. The plate I half saw was wrong. The cameras had been down since December. I made it to Megan's place 3 days late. I threw away every piece of clothing used on that thing. I sold the Corolla that summer. I live in Raleigh now. New job, new car. I'm fine most days, but I still check hotel walls before I bring my bags in. I put my eye where the pillow is and look for pinholes, rubbed paint, fresh dust. If I can't move the bed, I sleep at the foot. People think the hole is the part that stayed with me. It isn't. It's that when he knocked and told me my dome light was on, he sounded helpful, like a neighbor. And if I had opened the door even a little, I think he would have smiled first.
This was LurmoStories, and these threads are finally quiet. Unlike your thoughts, if you catch yourself replaying one specific detail later, that's how you know which story was meant for you.